The issue of trans children is a very controversial issue. It is incredibly complex, but for the trans activists and the people on Twitter, it is incredibly simple. It is actually black and white. You see, the complexity of the issue comes in the form of some people saying that, well, people under the age of 16 are unable to consent. Other people would like to explore additional options that are not irreversible, such as surgery. But for the activists, there are no complexities. The activists believe that unless you allow a child at any age to make the transitioning decision, and unless you agree that puberty blockers and surgery is the only solution, then you're a bigot. And bigots have to be canceled. Bigots need to have their livelihood ruined. Bigots need to be ostracized from society. And the activists, they have platforms, they have gatekeepers, they have people in positions of power in the media, politicians, activist groups, and they are able to enforce their will upon society to the point where people are afraid to speak out. Now, do you want an example of this? Fine, I can give it to you. The science, right? Like everyone worships the science nowadays. So what is the science? The science is the scientific method. Like you have an observation, you then make a hypothesis, you run an experiment, and people should be able to reproduce that experiment. Well, people at a university try to do just that. They try to make a study to see how many people are happy after surgery. Turns out they weren't allowed to do the study. Why? Because the university itself claimed that it may upset activist groups. So, while the science is indeed one of the best ways we can achieve knowledge, the institution of the science, such as universities, hospitals, clinics, they are very prone to corruption. The people that work there are still human beings. They are afraid of losing their jobs. They are afraid of speaking out and risk getting ostracized, risk getting eliminated from their position. I mean, it's very difficult to go through med school, go 6 years through the process, eventually become a doctor, and then say something that's offensive and lose your job as a doctor when you don't know how to do any other profession because all of your resource was invested into that of being a doctor. So this is why you reach this level where you can't really have vigorous debate. The science isn't allowed to ask the questions because the questions, according to the activists, have already been answered. And we now see that there may be legal repercussions for some of the doctors that were caught in the middle. And I do understand their position. I mean, on one hand, if you have a patient that comes to you, and let's say it's a 12-year-old kid, and you know that the guide says you have to give him puberty blockers if he demands it, and you have to do it right away. There's no waiting, like now is the time. Because otherwise, if you don't, then the activists are up your ass and you can be fired. So you do that, and then years later, you can end up being sued. You can end up losing your medical license. So it is a rock and a hard place for the average doctor, but at the end of the day, just saying, well, you were following orders, I don't know if that's a good enough excuse, because maybe they're right. Like maybe in the future, this is the solution, or maybe they're wrong. Maybe these legal actions from all of these families which are experiencing regret are going to completely cripple these doctors economically. They have to make a choice. After that, they will have to live with the choice. The main problem is, as I mentioned before, and this is like an objective thinking, completely detached from any emotional outbreak, there are two sides of the story. On one hand, you have the people that the activists claim to protect, which are the ones that want to transition at an early age. And the activists will say that the earlier the transition, the more likely the person is about to pass. So the more likely it is that the person will, because of them taking puberty blockers, they will look as closely as related to the gender that they want to transition in. And if the treatment is being delayed, then the passing is not going to happen. So you need to immediately, like the moment that a person claims that they identify as the opposite gender, you need to start treatment right there and then, right? This is what the activists are saying. But on the other hand, there are many voices of people who have regret. people who went through surgery, people who took these puberty blockers, and they now have regret over this. So the activists, what they do is they silence these people. Like, I have seen YouTube channels that did not violate hate speech whatsoever. That all they did was that they were showing cases of people that have regret, either going through the surgery or because their parents were encouraging them to identify as another gender and they didn't feel comfortable. And all these YouTube channels have either been given copyright strikes, community guideline strikes, they were taken off because the activists, they do not want to allow the conversation to happen. They do not want to make it as if it's a two-sided issue. It's just like the correct way, the right history, and then there is the bigots and the misinformation and whatnot. Now, the problem is that the activists cannot stop people from going to court. And as you can see, the number of families are becoming higher and higher. Initially, apparently, the judges allowed these children to get reparations for claiming that they were under 16. They were pressured into doing these medical procedures. But now at an appeal, it seems that the judges at the higher court overturned this and they agreed with the doctors. The lawsuit is still ongoing. There's many of them similar in the United States. In some cases, the doctors have lost. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but what is definitely beyond the shadow of a doubt is that the number of voices from people that transitions and now experience regret is getting higher and higher, to the point where it's very difficult to suppress them. And it makes sense because there's two groups of people and you can't please both. The people that claim that they have done the procedures and are now experiencing side effects or they're experiencing regret is increasing because the solution is to just always rush into doing these medical procedures. Furthermore, they might even have a legal case considering that their doctor said that the puberty blockers are completely reversible. The problem is, as this article claims, there is a lack of evidence to support this claim. And secondly, most medical procedures may have side effects. I mean, you can make the claim that for the general population, something is safe. But for the individual, well, he may sue your ass if it turns out that he's experiencing, I don't know, an allergy or something. So everyone that said, oh, well, this is fully reversible, they may be opened up for a lawsuit in the future. My personal take is the argument that children don't know what the fuck they want. Because if everyone were to actually follow up with what they wanted when they were kids, the world would be filled with pirates and Disney princesses. But we do notice that children change their mind. I mean, when I grew up, I wanted to be an astronaut, I wanted to be a truck driver, I wanted to be a police officer. I don't think that it would have been a good idea if my parents encouraged me to pursue these dreams. But for some reason, if the kid wants to be a bus driver and the parents go like, look, not a good idea, you're not going to earn much money, it's a stressful job, right? Why don't you become a diversity officer instead? Why don't you work at a company with an air conditioning, doing jack shit, sending a couple of emails, and then getting paid a lot of money? Huh? Why don't you do that, little Billy? Why don't you try that? No one is going to shame the parent for trying to lead the child on a different path. But for some reason, if the child goes like, well, I went at my high school and the teacher suggested that I may be a non-binary otterkin, if the parent says, well, are you sure, Billy? Oh my fucking God, the parent is a bigot. He needs to be fired. There is no conversation, no debate. This is harmful. The parents are creating harm. The children require liberation. You know, like... Well, if that's the case, I think the activists may require a couple of lawsuits. We're going to see in the future what will happen. Personally, looking at how the culture is shifting, I do believe that the concept of children unable to consent is going to be king in this situation. You are going to eventually have more and more doctors speaking out, and science, even though slow, is going to start taking its course. And people are going to start making studies and clinical trials and see whether or not the activists are genuinely experts on the matter or if they are wrong. Personally, I do think they are wrong, but we'll see. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.